Leonardo da Vinci once said, just as food eaten without appetite is a tedious nourishment, so does study without zeal damage the memory by not assimilating what it absorbs. Polycarp Kush once said, I feel sometimes as the Renaissance man must have felt in finding new riches at every point, and in the certainty that unexplored areas of knowledge and experience await at every turn. Yours truly, Avi Klein, but a mere teacher of 8th grade United States history, says the following. If the quality and purpose of life are for us to traverse through the landscape themselves towards the completion of bettering ourselves through vast experiences, interests, hobbies, and practices, then our next guest here on Wrestling with Anything But exemplifies the latter precisely. I'd like to welcome Rob Kellum, formerly known as the Maestro in WCW, and Gorgeous George III to the show. Rob, how are you, man?
Welcome.
Oh, hey, great to be with you guys. That was really cool with the Renaissance Man. That's like reminiscent of one of my favorite films, Renaissance Man with Danny DeVito. A great
movie. Great movie.
Yeah, I met him in the John Goodman at the Heathrow Airport in London a while back, and it was great because John Goodman was snoring in the bar, right? He was half asleep, and Danny DeVito was like, "Oh, finally an American. We're so ready to go home."
That's hilarious.
Great times.
But I mean, as far as that film is concerned, it's funny because when you look at the roll call, or as far as the booking sheet of what the character exemplifies, you never would think Danny DeVito would be the guy who would play that character, but he played it so well. Oh,
I've been a fan of his ever since Taxi.
Yeah, nobody could ever play that role. Yeah, Louis De Palma. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as the Renaissance Man, it's something that I think our guests who are familiar with Rob's work will attest to the fact that that's what I consider you. And those who don't will find out soon. Some interesting tidbits about January of 1973. CBS sells the New York Yankees to a 12-person syndicate led by George Steinbrenner for $10 million. Richard Nixon is officially declared winner of the 1972 presidential election, although stick around because he'd be gone faster than Bill Goldberg's squash match. Elvis Presley's concert in Hawaii takes place, and Nixon, back to old Tricky Dick, suspends action in North Vietnam, although the U.S. involvement wouldn't end until 75, officially. And then George Foreman beats Joe Frazier to become the heavyweight champion of the world. All this happens in 1973 of January. Specifically, on January 26, 73, some tidbits. In 10 years, the year 2029, anyone born that year can reuse that same calendar again, as the calendars will be exactly the same. And, Rob, if on average you've slept 8 hours a day, I don't know if you have, you've been sleeping for 15.3 years in your life. What's the matter with you, man?
Go figure, right?
Also, on January 26, 1973, born into this world were Paul Newman, Eddie Van Halen, Anita Baker, Ellen DeGeneres, and our guest, Rob Kellum.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what a year. Oh, my goodness.
Although this is Wrestling with Anything But, I want to delve into some non-wrestling matters, of course, and simply, I just have to ask something. Being born in North Carolina, and before we even get into this, the floor is all yours. Please, can you mention some of the stuff you've got going on that you want to plug and promote, because it's really worthwhile for the listeners to hear this.
Well, actually, I was born in California, Santa Monica. At the time, I was in a military family, so until I moved around, but, ended up being raised in North Carolina, but ended up traveling anyway later on in life.
Peace, yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. And speaking of Bill Goldberg, which I've known since WCW, a great guy. We hit it off because we both like animals. He's a big animal rights guy.
Sure.
And he was really cool. Been really good friends ever since. And we just did a film together a few years back called Checkpoint, which is out on Netflix. It's an action military film. It's contributed to our veterans, and which it was really cool to be a part of that. So
that's interesting. What are your Jarrell T. Williams, my co-host, is on here, and we just had Mike Drosy, formerly Duke the Dumpster. He's also a really big pet guy. What are your favorite? Do you have favorite animals? I mean, obviously animals in general, but do you have any favorites?
Well, like I said, in general, I love, I got dogs and cats here, and
right.
I know my folks, they didn't have like bunnies, and one time I had a couple pet pigs, and that's how.
Oh wow, that is interesting. That's cool.
My former tag team partner, Greg Hammer Valentine,
right.
we talk about pigs because he has pet pigs too, right? So.
Right.
Yeah, but I got shepherds, and I got a little dog named Sparky, and I got outdoor cats. So it's kind of
okay.
cool.
What do you think? Jarrell, I want you to ask this question about the cat. Jarrell has 2 cats himself. I think some of them weren't social until I met Jarrell's cat. Some of them are. Some of them are kind of social.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have one cat who's actually extremely social. Like when people come over, like she rubs all over them and tries to like sit in their lap and stuff. And then my other cat, my boy, he's the complete opposite. When people come over, like he hisses and then, he doesn't let you
she was being social with me because that kind of indicates that you're not feeding her, so she's trying to butter me up for food. But I don't know. I don't know.
No, she's like that anyway.
One thing I wanted to ask you just to start this off, Rob, is growing up, you hear a lot of stories, but although he passed away a decade before you were born, were there any stories or tales told of your great uncle George Wagner, otherwise known as the legendary Gorgeous George?
That whole journey itself. I mean, I didn't realize till later on in my life of my relation to Gorgeous George. I started professional wrestling, like fast forward a few years after being into pro wrestling. I had guys like Dusty Rhodes and William Regal and a few others compare my style and my look to that of the original Gorgeous George, in which they were going to bring me in at one time earlier on WCW in the 90s. The Dark started to deal with Johnny D. Bad as Gorgeous George, right?
Right.
And and it almost came in fruition, but for some reason, I guess things didn't work out. I guess Dusty, someone replaced him with the booking. I don't know the whole story behind all that, but
sure.
I went to my grandfather, man. I was like, what's the deal? We lived out in Oklahoma at the time, had a horse ranch out there.
Right.
And he just looks at me, tells me, he said, you didn't know? And I'm like, no, what? And so he smartened me up. He said, Gorgeous George is actually my granduncle back in the day. Him and they were pals back in the day because he used to amateur box.
Wow.
Right before he broke into business.
Right.
And so it really inspired me to don the name.
It's incredible. Did you even at then though? I mean, I guess I'm a Northeast cynic. That's who I am. But like, did you sort of question that when you were told that he's your uncle? Did you just kind of like, it's one of those things that must because what's the coincidental fact about this is that you got into pro wrestling and then you were also told, I guess by Dusty, as you mentioned, that you have, similar style as Gorgeous George. And then you're told that he's actually like part of your family lineage. Did you question it all at the time, or?
Well, but my whole life, I've been, academics, athletics. I was an agilely gifted class growing up because of the high IQ I had. Then I got in sports, baseball, football, wrestling, and collegiately amateur wrestling. Wrestling with the Iowa State Hawkeyes and the Germans when they came over to tour the U.S. and USA Freestyle Greco. And I've always had this deep passion for pro wrestling, right? And so it's just kind of ironic how things happen. And when my grandfather was telling me about this, I'm always asking questions. I'm always like a sponge trying to absorb the information. Just really helped me out with pro wrestling, perfecting my craft and learning some great people along the way. And, so yeah, I was always questioning stuff, and the more I found out about my granduncle, it's like, wow, he was so innovative. He was so ahead of his time, and inspired me. Even after donning the name Gorgeous George III and traveling the world basically, and then basically into bigger companies like WCW and so forth, it inspired me to be kind of like that innovator as well, because I'm always wanting to evolve with the times, changing with the times, because life's always changing. And people's always changing, so you change with it, right?
That's one of the things I noticed. I picked up on this when you were actually working in WCW. And I saw some of your interview work prior to that, but as Jarrell has probably heard a million times, and he knows, I was a horrible independent wrestler, so I don't consider myself ever being one because I stunk. But I did see you doing the Gorgeous George gimmick in the Indies, and doing the Maestro gimmick, and we'll get to that later. But one thing I noticed was your level, and I don't know if you hear this a lot, but I like to nitpick little details as well. It's the teacher in me, but like your level of concentration was amazing in that role. Just your level of concentration.
Thank you so much. And it all stems, actually, a lot of the credit stems back to the theatrical background I had, because I was in theater for the longest time.
Okay.
In plays and musicals. I was in the Cats play up in New York.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, really?
That's amazing. I like how Rob just kind of says that like if it's no big deal. That was huge. I remember back growing up. I even remember that was a big deal, of course.
And get the tour of New York, be on top of the Empire State Building. It was like a big thrill. And I was a big Gloria Estefan fan at the time. And she came up with a song for the Cats play. The boys will be boys, and she was dancing with the cat dancers and everything. It was really cool. I mean, I was in plays like Hamlet, Shakespearean type plays. And I was the
Iambic pentameter.
I was Macbeth, the king that got screwed over in Macbeth, and it really played an integral part, in my journey with pro wrestling. Being theatrical and connecting with the audience, that type of thing. Because in live theater, you always got to be on 24/7.
Sure.
In live theater, and that's the way it is in the wrestling match. You've got to be on all the time, and it helped.
My college professor looked down at me when she found out that I did pro wrestling, and I remember taking theater classes, learning about iambic pentameter for Shakespearean plays, which means you can improv in a way. And when we sat in a round table and I told her I used to wrestle, she just kind of at that point I knew I wasn't getting any major role, and I did it. Yeah. But wow, you bring up such a good point.
Right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But you're sorry.
No problem. Now I just got a quick question. So, with everything, like I said, you played other sports, like you mentioned football, and then you also did the theater. Out of the different things that you did, whether it was other sports or the theater, what do you think was the most important thing that helped you transition into wrestling?
It's interesting, yeah.
Like the thing, when you got knee deep into wrestling, the moment where you were like, you know what? Thank goodness I did this because this helped me with the wrestling.
Was it theater, or was it anything else?
It was the whole ball of wax, man. It was theater, touring with the indies, traveling the world, being in different countries, getting that experience, because there's no substitute for experience, man. There really is. And I learned some great people like Jake the Snake Roberts, who's still one of my best friends to this day.
Right.
And Jerry Lawler and Ivan Koloff, Nelson Royal, the Andersons, just a lot of.
You were trained by I think, if I'm not mistaken, was it Gene Anderson?
It was Gene Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and Nelson Royal. Originally.
Wow. So it really was sort of a school as soon as you started training. From there on after, it became a school.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was just, it was very old school and it was very hard. I mean, I've seen professional ball players drop out, tryouts, because they couldn't handle how tough it was. Because being in ring shape and is so much different than being in regular shape.
Oh, absolutely.
Physically so. And there's a lot that goes in. And I'm studying videotapes of Johnny Valentine and Chief Wahoo McDaniel, who eventually wrestled one of my first matches, actually, and got to be friends with.
Wow.
I remember one time, my first match with Wahoo, right? We're going at it, and I pick him up in a vertical suplex during that match. And after our match, I'm getting, lacing my boots. He comes, sits down right beside me, and looks at me, and puts his arm around me, and says, "You know what? I haven't been picked up like that since Harley Race." And that's how we hit it off. And he would tell some great road stories.
And I'm assuming this is a guy that you probably grew up watching. I mean, Wahoo, he was known for so at that point in time, was he less snug than I heard he was when he was younger? And again,
man,
the snug thing is a compliment, because if anything, the suspension of disbelief back then especially had to be protected, and Wahoo was one of the best in that area. Do you agree?
Yeah, exactly. And he was another one that knew his audience, and he knew how to. He kind of taught me how to dictate the pace of a match. And I mean, he had one of the hardest chops I've ever took in the ring. God. And to the point where I told him, I said, "Look, please teach me how to do this, because I'm not taking it right, man. But just look like hamburger meat, right?" So and he's the one that taught Flair how to chop and knee drop and everything. So he was dropping the knowledge. I'm forever grateful for that.
We're gonna get back to wrestling in a minute. I want to ask you a couple of questions, I guess, non-wrestling related. Just growing up, were politics discussed around the dinner table?
Politics, as far as
American politics.
American politics. I was, the thing is, I was always, brought up to, respect people from all backgrounds and so forth. And, you know, in like when I was first born, actually, you know, I had my nurses, right? I was in surgery like first part of my life.
Oh, wow.
They had correct something, but it was just, I'm fine, but, you know, it's like, just with birth, you know, the birth deal. But, yeah, you know, my first doctors and nurses were all like all ethnicities and backgrounds and everything. And I considered all of them family, right? You know what I mean? And that's the way I was always brought up, with the fact that, you know, just respect people from different backgrounds, respect women, respect, you know, and really, in other words, I don't know. I kind of look at the world like this. We're all intertwined together. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Of course.
And with politics and everything, sometimes I feel like it diverses us.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we should, you know, we're all human beings on this planet. We're living this thing together called life, and we should enjoy life together. I mean, and I think if more people had that mentality, I think
I completely agree with you. I told Stevie Ray, we had him on Friday, and I mentioned to him on the podcast that, in my opinion, you're right. I think when you place labels, even on a political spectrum, automatically you're being told to take a side, whether it's subconscious or conscious in your belief. You are being told that you have to make a stance regardless, and I think that starts the division.
Exactly. I got family, and I got family in like that believes different ways and have different beliefs, and I got fans around the world that have different beliefs. I got friends that do the same thing, but we're still friends.
Sure, you know sure, of course.
And we're still family, and
that's kind of a beautiful thing to still be able to. I think that's a great thing. It really is. Yeah.
You pass the difference.
So, I mean, we're all in this thing together, so, you know, so we should stick together and look out for one another.
I love that. I mean, I love the message you said, and it's simple, but yet it's profound because it's something that's right under our nose the whole time. I agree with you 100%. What TV shows and movies influenced you a lot growing up?
Oh, man. You know, I loved, like, the old school movies, like, back in the day, like The Godfather. I'm a big Al Pacino fan, by the way.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood, all the, like, the Westerns and all the tough guys, like, Dirty Harry movies. I think, Mark, The Undertaker, I think we have that in common. We both big Clint Eastwood fans, right? And, of course, my dad loves Chuck Norris. He's a big Chuck Norris.
Yeah, he's still going, too. Still going.
Yeah. Lethal Weapon. I love all those Lethal Weapon movies. They're amazing.
It's funny you bring up Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon doesn't get brought up a lot, but I mean, it was like one of the first pseudo like comedic action movies that didn't dilute from either genre. Like you can actually watch it as a straight comedy with action elements, or as a straight action with comedic elements. It did both really well. I think.
I had a friend growing up that kind of was reminiscent of Danny Glover, right?
Right.
So I could really identify with that movie because of the fact that, you know, it kind of reminded me and my best friend growing up going to school and hanging out, doing different things. And the chemistry that Gibson Glover had was just off the chain.
And of course, you're going to take the advantageous route of saying that you were the character of Riggs.
I swear, if I want anybody to play me, like to role me in like the story of my life, I'd so hope it's Mel Gibson.
That character was insane, man. And I mean, what a roller coaster, right? Like, wow, what a roller coaster.
Because we've all been there. You know, we've all been through the bad times and good times, and had to improv to make things better and find a friendship with a best friend that no matter what thick and thin will look out for you and has that connection that those two had. Man, it was just that everybody can identify with that.
It's true. Well, I can't identify with it anymore. I'm married already, but I know what you mean. Sure, I used to have friends. Sure. My wife used to let me go out. I know music has been a huge influence in your life because get this, you're a singer, pianist, you're a drummer. What music piqued your interest, and I guess as a kid, did it evolve over the years?
Actually did. You know, my choir teacher and theater teacher was so upset when I got into wrestling. Oh my gosh. He wanted me to pursue and be a singer and all that, and eventually hit Broadway and all that, which, you know, I was down with that. But, you know, life kind of sidetracks you know, different things. But she was happy when I saw what I was doing with the pro wrestling, and then when I got back into acting, too, as well, like I'm currently doing now. So, I mean, I more than made it up to her.
let's take a minute, as I mentioned to you earlier when we were talking prior to the podcast. mention some of the things you're working on now. We'll talk about them after, right before we conclude the podcast as well. But some of the things you're working on now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a documentary about me out now called The Maestro, done by Green Hero Films, which I'm still very humbled on because I never thought in a million years I'd had my own film documentary. So
right.
Very humbled by that. It's been playing in film theaters across the country, and it's now online. You can watch it through the Green Hero Films Facebook page. Just type in Green Hero Films in front of Facebook.com, go straight to it.
Cool.
But got that going on. I'm in the series right now. We're starting our third season, filming currently called the Dust Series, which I star as the Chief,
right?
Who's the new face of death.
And fans, I checked it out because Rob let me know about that a couple of days ago. Really neat stuff. I mean, you need to check this out. It's to the point where when you're watching it, I got lost and I said to myself, wait a minute, is this Rob? Like you could literally tell that he has acting chops. I mean, that's the thing about you. That's why I opened up using my Renaissance quote, because it seems like everything you touch, you put all of yourself into it, regardless of what type of form it is. I've noticed that.
Absolutely, and I guess you would classify me as like one of those method actors that really lives the part, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And really to make it effective and get the story across, you really have to go to that different realm where you have to, at that moment in time, you have to be somebody else. And which I learned that through the years through being in the theater and with wrestling and now back in the acting. And one of the things I've learned actually, as far as not just acting, wrestling, but just the whole ball of wax is like you have to believe in something before others believe in you, right?
Of course,
absolutely. And if you believe in a creation or a persona situation, and you put 110 into it, then some. Then others that watch you do your thing is going to believe in you and will follow you to the ends of the earth.
And they'll feel
you're a villain, whether you're a hero, if they like your work, they'll be 100% dedicated to you.
That's a really good point. It's almost like losing yourself in your work because when people see that, they respect it. They see how much you cherish it because you're giving your all into. I mean, I like that. Would you mind telling my wife that? I think she needs to hear that. Give me a little favor here. She's kind of lost the limit. But I mean, I have to say, Iowa State. You wrestled in Iowa State. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Now, talk about a lineage. Dan Gable, Chris Taylor, just a few that wrestled there. Oh my God, were you coached by Bobby Douglas?
Well, actually, Dan Gable was the guy that he was my hero, actually one of my heroes growing up because I used to watch his training videos. He would train the Olympics and stuff. It was just insane, and to finally wrestle with the team and all that, and just go, originally seeing him at the wrestling camps I would go to, right? It was such a big thrill, and to see him and meet him. And to actually do things, it was just amazing.
Was he still breaking apples with his hand?
Oh yeah, tough as nails.
Incredible.
I mean, him and Danny Hodge.
Sure.
I've actually seen
he
live.
He did that too, yeah, with the apples, right? Yeah. Danny Hodge, sure. Yeah.
And he's still undefeated.
And you know what's interesting is that he's no longer with us, but Chris Taylor, for a big guy, he can move.
Yes.
He can move.
Amazing for a big man.
Sure. Now, from what I understand, so you guys, I think in your final year there, you guys were 17-4, which is a really impressive record.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts about was it considered freestyle or Greco-Roman?
Well, I dabbled in both because I also with USA Freestyle Greco as well.
Oh, wow.
So I did with both, Greco and freestyle. But
a preference? Is there such a thing as a preference, or no?
Well, freestyle had a little bit more liberties to move around with, a lot more than you would with Greco. Greco was mostly upper body, right?
Sure.
In which I did pretty good in Greco because I was pretty good. One of the takedowns I was pretty good at was the cowboy takedown, the head and arm takedown.
Right.
Which I found out later on, going back to Wahoo McDaniel. That was one of his favorite takedowns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, yeah, so, funny how that works out. But, yeah, I mean, I liked a little both, because both were kind of unique styles.
Did you feel like when you got into the business, and I'm talking about how you actually got into the pro wrestling business, but when you got in, did you feel like the locker room took a lot of the guys who either had a collegiate background or an amateur background, or even, I guess MMA wasn't prevalent at the time, but did you feel like the respect factor was a lot higher for some of the guys who were involved in that?
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, Stan Ling was the guy that put me on to PWFI, the Japanese pancreation MMA style, which that's where I in turn got to meet Dan Severn, and we're still good friends to this day. And of course, Ken Shamrock, which I actually originally met at the wrestling school. In Charlotte, Gene, Nelson, and Ivan.
Making a comeback actually this year, Ken Shamrock.
That's amazing. And at the time, he was with Pride Fighting, which Pride and UWFI were competitors at the time in Japan. But I learned so much about strikes, and because I knew the wrestling end of it, pretty well. But as far as like submissions and strikes, that's where I learned a lot about that, is through the MMA experience. And it really helped when I came back from training with those guys. It just propelled my game that much more. And I found that there was a little bit of respect there, you know what I mean, because of the background and all that. Especially, when you do tours like from Japan and different countries, and you come back in the States, it's like the industry has a newfound appreciation for you because of of the background. So,
did you ever feel the need to, or were you ever tested, or did you ever feel the need to actually rise up to the occasion and kind of prove yourself in any which way, physically speaking?
Oh, I was tested even when I was trying out for wrestling. As a matter of fact, because I was collegiate wrestling at the time, but I didn't let them know about it.
Right.
Be trained to be professional, right?
Did you look down at a pro? And I say this because I hear this from a lot of guys that did amateur, from the people I've interviewed. Did you sort of kind of not look down, but did you feel like it was a bit beneath you because you were accomplished in collegiate wrestling, and then you just mentioned that you were also, the whole Olympic thing. Was it something that you weren't interested in doing, you just sort of got into it, or did you always feel like you wanted to get into pro wrestling?
It's been a passion of mine since I was little. So even having the amateur background and so forth, collegiate background, I still wanted to be a pro wrestler. It's always been a passion of mine. And funny story, when I was trying out, Gene Anderson was sitting right there, watching me in the ring, and he tells me to wrestle, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't know what type of wrestling he wanted. Like, I was kind of befuddled by it, right? So I remember throwing just the worst drop kick ever in the history of mankind on somebody. And no, kid, wrestle, right? Like, then the light bulb is, wrestle, right? And I remember taking the guy down and pinning him with a matter of seconds.
Oh, so that's hilarious. You actually thought that he meant, since he's a pro wrestler, you thought he meant just do like some sort of moveset that a pro wrestler would do, like a drop kick. That's hilarious. That's funny. And you probably, your expression initially before you probably did the Homer Simpson your expression was probably like, oh yeah, I did good, right? And then you look it up like, wait a minute, so why is this guy scowling at me?
I remember the other guys just giving the other guy hell because, the fact that I just took him down by a second, so it was hilarious.
Now, you had a really, just such a weird mix, and I mean weird in a positive way, because you talk about different styles of wrestling. You had Ivan Koloff, Gene Anderson, and Nelson Royal all training you. I mean, did you ever get, here's my question, did you ever get sort of conflicting advice because of the various styles that differed, or did you train with all of them, I guess, simultaneously, or was it just during different courses of your career coming up?
Well, it was just, I guess saying that each one brought a different deal to the table, right? Like with the Andersons, that taught me to be aggressive.
Right.
Like with anything I would do, to bring out that aggressiveness out and to bring that intensity out. And with, and Ivan, he would work on your endurance as well as Nelson. He'd work on the endurance as well as the technical side. Learn the holds, mastering the craft and so forth. And with Nelson and Gene, they brought out the more intensity, right? And which Ivan did as well. But each one brought a different style to the deal, and they had a lot of common ground as far as respecting old school, telling the story, making things believable to what's in the ring as well as your audience. And so much I learned. I'm so indebted to those guys.
That's amazing. And you know what? It's incredible because you were talking about method acting. Ivan Koloff had to method act almost his entire career.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. It's a shame people didn't know what a nice guy he actually was, because he would have been better. He would have been bigger than Hulk Hogan if people actually knew the real Ivan Koloff. I mean, he was just an amazing guy.
You know what I found interesting? A lot of the guys up north or south, I guess, they couldn't, when they kind of like tried to work a certain territory that wasn't as receptive to who they were because of the lack of media exposure. Ivan Koloff didn't have that problem. He could work anywhere.
Yeah.
He could adapt.
And the amazing, I mean, the background of this guy. I mean, he was one of the few guys back in the day actually defeat Bruno Sammartino for the WWF Championship back in the day.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, he had it pretty hard. He grew up in Montreal, Quebec, and tough background. And again, one of the things I have to mention too about your training was the fact that it seemed like right away. It didn't so how long did you actually train before you had your first professional wrestling match?
About 6 or 7 months.
Okay. Obviously, I'm sure you were smart enough by then. But did you feel like since the territories were sort of dwindling down, you had Memphis, Smoky. When you debuted, Smoky Mountain wasn't even around yet. I know you worked there later, but did you feel like there was sort of a halt in progress just because there weren't so many doors to be open for other promotions that would welcome you in?
I mean, up until like my first match, I wasn't even smartened up until like right before my match, right?
Oh, wow.
So they're just training really hard and up to that point. And my first match was with a champion, ACW champion, L.A. Stevens.
Right.
In Kannapolis, North Carolina. And I remember, oh gosh, I was greener than the John Deere tractor as far as wrestling. But I mean, but we.
And you debuted Robbie Eagle?
Robbie Eagle, yeah. And which actually stuck with me to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and which that was like my first actual territory, which was really cool because I used to drive up to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling shows with Bob Cottle, who was actually a legendary Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling announcer, aka
Great announcer. Very underrated. Do you agree?
Very much so. Very much so. And then another great guy, and Cornette and Sandy Scott, Tim Horner, really, who were kind of behind the scenes running Smoky, really gave me an opportunity. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, really Tracy Smothers. I mean, those guys really went to bat for me and helped me out. And did
your trainers actually kind of recommend you to Smoky Mountain? Or I mean, by then you were probably wrestling for a couple of years, so you probably ventured on your own. But did you find the locker room in Smoky Mountain Wrestling to be? People always want, and this is fine. The following I'm about to mention is fine, but people always want to talk about the ECW locker room, the camaraderie. But I feel like not enough is mentioned about maybe the camaraderie that existed in Smoky Mountain, because from all accounts, it seemed like there was a lot of hope with the promotion, and a lot of the guys that worked there had worked with each other in prior promotions, whether it was Crockett or other promotions. Do you feel like there was sort of this belief that Smoky Mountain might actually belong to the big three, or maybe get in there?
Well, it was the intermediate at the time between WWE and WCW, and there was talent being thrown in and out, back and forth, the revolving door in between. So I mean, it was the place of all the territories to be. That was the place to be at the time, because WCW and WWE were like pulling people in and out. You know what I mean? And you had young stars and new stars upcoming. I mean, you had myself, you had Chris Candido, who had great matches with Bobby Blaze, Taz, Chris Jericho, Lance Storm,
Glenn Jacobs later on too.
Glenn Jacobs, Al Snow.
Right.
I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Absolutely.
And,
what a great promotion it was.
It was just amazing being part of, and I was kind of like the baby Steiner of the group at the time with the amateur wrestling medals and all that, and everything.
Did you get to and obviously this is a two-part question. Was there anyone that stuck out in Smoky Mountain that gave you maybe some of the most relevant advice that you received? And the other question is, who did you ride with over there?
It was like back and forth. Because I was friends with Tracy, Rock and Roll, Express. Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony, remember him?
Right.
And I'm good friends with Bobby Blaze, Chris Candido, some other guys I mentioned. But it's like Sandy Scott was kind of like one of my go-to guys. He would give me advice and stuff, and because I would like to talk to some of the veterans, him, with Thatcher, before the shows and just chit-chat a bit. And you always get good advice.
Thatcher is another guy that doesn't get brought up nearly enough as much as he should.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a world of knowledge there. And
sure.
And the thing he's always instilled in me, matter of fact, it was him, and also I was talking to Lou Bez at the time.
Okay. Oh, wow.
He was like my go-to guy to give me advice as well. And
wait a minute. No, we need to look. As a guy who also has a lot of diverse interests, let's just stop right here for a second. Lou says, this is a man who wrestled over I think his career spanned over 6 decades. Finally retired at like age 73. This is a guy that was he began professional wrestling when it wasn't quite he wasn't during the Frank Gotch era, but he was a generation right after. And when Lou Thesz started wrestling, the carnival days were kind of dwindling down, but at the same time, kayfabe was protected a lot more than it was later on. And Lou Thesz went through certain eras that I think people to this day don't even realize. You want to talk about marketable guys, you want to talk about guys who could hold his own, and you want to talk about guys who can market himself. Lou Thesz was all of those things, all rolled up into one. When you talk about some of the best of all time, again, a guy whose name doesn't get brought up often enough.
And the advice that Mr. Thesz helped give me through the years, I'll always be indebted to. I mean, you always instill like whatever you do, make it believable. Believe in everything that you do, and never sell yourself short, and that sort of thing. And he was a real class act guy.
So he didn't come across as being bitter from the old school or anything like that.
No, not at all. There's certain things he didn't agree with, of course.
Sure.
But he was always there to give good advice. And
just today, I told Jarrell out of that damn Facebook, that damn iPhone.
Get off my lawn.
And then he'd go back and tell him certain things you did, and certain things he would tell you that he's proud of you for doing. I mean, it really hit home. It really meant a lot. Because to get his seal of approval was really big for me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there were some amazing tutors that you had over there. But go ahead, Jarrell.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because you said earlier that, from the moment you were like a kid, like you always wanted to be a professional wrestler. But you found out about the Gorgeous George, you found out about Gorgeous George like later on. When you found that out, because I'm pretty sure that when you had your mindset like I'm going to be a professional wrestler, you had in mind the type of wrestler that you wanted to be. But when you found out about the relation, did that alter anything that you did? Did you include some things from him? Like, did it add any sort of pressure to
Great question.
Were you now saying to yourself, gee, let me take a look at his footage and maybe borrow some stuff, or were you just like, or you just appreciate it, but you still kept true to what you set out to do in the beginning?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I studied that man like no tomorrow. and as far as like passion for the business, it was just pretty much putting icing on the cake. It just solidified everything that I was like striving for. I mean, it really amped up my passion for the business and to be better at the business and to keep doing what I'm doing, because it was like fate all of a sudden.
Okay.
I mean, looking at your eyes, like this is what you're destined born to do, right? So.
Yeah. Anything particular that you can remember that you took from him, or?
Well, a lot of. Well, I was had a flamboyant style to begin with, but like it really stepped up that flamboyancy. It stepped up that pageantry. It stepped up the drama that you would put in the ring and telling the story. I mean, that tenfold, basically. So
going all over the place over here, who were some of the guys you looked up to growing up when you wrestled? Or whose style did you, I'm sure there's so many, but if you had to pinpoint a couple, who were some of the guys you grew up watching?
So many. Oh, my gosh. Of course, the Funks. I adopted Terry. I now call him Uncle Terry Funk wherever I see him. Right? Uncle Terry. Love Terry. Terry and Dory Funk Jr., of course. The Briscoes. Dusty Rhodes, Andre the Giant, Blackjack Mulligan, Harley Race, Bob Orton Jr., Randy Orton's dad, and the list goes on. Jimmy Valiant, who now I'm friends with, it's really, really, really cool. Pistol Pez Watley, who ended up being one of my mentors in WCW. He was with the ring crew at the time, but he was my go-to guy for advice in WCW. I know JYD, Junkyard Dog, who was like an older brother to me on the road. Les Thornton. Thornton, you guys remember Les Thornton?
Recently passed, by the way, Les Thornton, yeah.
Right. Kevin Sullivan, who I ended up working with later on, he was kind of like he was a mentor to me as well.
Cool.
And matter of fact, he was kind of an inspiration for the persona I'm doing now with the Papa Stro thing, right?
Is there anybody that handled heels better than Kevin Sullivan, like backstage?
Oh, he's amazing. He's like a walking encyclopedia. Matter of fact, we did a deal not too long ago, the War Games match, where he kind of passed the torch of the past master deal to myself. And that's kind of like what I'm doing now with the old Papa Stro thing.
That's really cool. Actually, to be honest with you, I'd like to see that. I kind of see this, like I could see that. I saw the transition in your characters based on some of the pictures I saw in preparation for this interview, and I could see that. He really did a great job reviving Mark Lewin's career, too, out in Florida.
Oh, Purple Haze. He's amazing.
Purple Haze.
He's awesome. The greatest things I've seen in my life was the video montage with Nancy and Kevin out on the beach. And here comes Mark Lewin. I was like, oh my, and the full moon and everything. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And you had King Curtis doing the commentary. Remember King Curtis? One of the greatest interviews ever. Amazing.
Absolutely. I remember, from what I understand, the artist who was previously known as Prince IK, he actually asked Curtis IK if he can use the name, and he was, like you said, again, underrated, but probably one of the best interviews ever. I had a conversation with some of my pals about this, and he asked me a very simple question. I gave him my own opinion of what I think is a vague answer. Maybe you can expand. He asked me why, some of the younger guys and some of them don't stand out. And the reason I think a lot of the old school guys, why the nostalgic era stands out is because the younger guys were allowed to adapt and find themselves in different territories. And by the time you saw them on the national stage, you were looking at real men. You were looking at men. You were looking at boys trying to find themselves, as you do today. You were looking at men who did find themselves. Do you see any kind of truth to that at all, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. Because the biggest concept that has been the biggest seller since the beginning of time, and it will always sell no matter what, with the wrestling, with TV and film, with the great speakers and leaders, and so forth, is emotion.
Right.
Emotion is so, so strong. And if you can get emotion out of people, whether it's any kind of emotion, whether you're happy, sad, angry, what have you, then that's so powerful. And that's the difference between a lot of the guys back then. That's how they connected with their audience, the fact that they brought out that emotion out of the audience. And no matter where at in the world, they're masters at that. And so emotion is so powerful. I can't, I give advice to, the younger generation, and I tell them, the best thing you can do is use that emotion in what you do. I mean, you can have any character and persona you want, but if you put that emotion to it, it's so powerful. It just brings your game up so high.
Is there anybody that you can think of?
Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, is there anybody you can think of, either current or someone maybe in the 80s or 90s that, that was able to bring out that emotion? Like anybody off the top of your head that you look at or appreciate?
Yeah. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, amazing.
Okay.
Jake the Snake Roberts, master psychologist.
Yeah. Agreed.
Master psychologist. It's amazing. Randy Orton, actually, is a very, very good example of that. One of my favorites to this day. Amazing. I mean, the concept of less is more. I mean, he's a master at that.
Sure.
Triple H. Triple H is another one. Ric Flair. Oh my gosh.
Sure.
It's just amazing.
It's a great list. It's a great list.
Yeah.
And we talked about heels, but babyfaces, Ricky Steamboat has to be up there in terms of someone who could draw the crowd. I mean, even if you just would apply maybe a simplistic maneuver to Ricky Steamboat, the crowd back in the day would just rip their hair out, the girls especially, but I mean everybody was just always rooting for the guy to make his comeback.
Ricky Steamboat is like a walking wrestling art form. It's amazing.
I love that. Wait, Rob, can you say that again? I like that. I liked it a lot.
Ricky Steamboat is the living, walking wrestling art form.
I love that. I love that.
It's amazing. Him and Bobby Eaton are like two of the smoothest guys I've ever been in the ring with as far as wrestling. I mean, just so masters. I mean, it's amazing how fluid they are in the ring.
Would the transition in terms of just style from psychology, which includes the mic work and as well as the psychology in the ring, did you find one facet, I guess, early on in your first couple of years to be more challenging than the other? Was it the in-ring stuff? Was it the psychology? Was it the mic work? What was the toughest thing to grasp?
Well, one of the first things that was kind of hard in the beginning to make a transition was from amateur wrestling to pro wrestling, especially with the stances and all that, because there's a lot of different styles from each. But it took me a while to get used to the pro wrestling style, but once I did, it was fine. And once I got into the pro wrestling, I had to learn more about the psychology, right? And I'll tell you a funny story. Rob Van Dam and I used to have some great matches back before it was pre-ECW for him. It was like pre-WCW for me, that type of thing. And we would have some great matches. He would do his aerial artistry, and I'd do all the wrestling. And it was a good combo. And I loved wrestling Rob Van Dam. It was amazing. One night, we were semi-main event, and the main event was Jake Roberts and a guy named Big Slam, who was kind of doing the borderline Vader deal, right? And he was like twice Jake's size, right? And so Rob and I went out and had a stellar match. I mean, just busted our butts. And you get in the back, and, you know, Jake was like, hey, great, guys. I don't know if I could top that. That was a great one, right? And we're like, Rob and I are still in the back. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, great match. And Jake goes out there with this big guy and doesn't even do a quarter of what we did, right? And has the people on their feet going crazy. On their feet going crazy. And after his match, he gets in the back, and Rob and I are just stupified looking at each other. Right? And we looked at Jake and said, teach us. Because Jake is a master in making those little things speak volumes, and that's what I learned from him. And being a tag team partner with him, different places, like especially AAA, for example, when we were tag partners for Triple Mania, right?
Sure.
Toward Mexico. Just watching him do.
For those listeners who want to know, AAA's Triple Mania is sort of the equivalent of their WrestleMania.
And it was amazing. And I remember the first interview that Jake and I did as a team, and the Mexican commentator asked Jake, how do you like Mexico? You're staying in Mexico thus far, right? And and Jake basically told the truth. So, oh man, the food sucks. We've been starving for a week. We're snacking on a box of Raisin Bran. But it was just amazing how he just, you know, art imitates life, right?
Sure, of course.
Jake is a master. He just brings out the, you know, real situations in the interview, right? And I'm listening to him doing this promo right next to him. It's like, he just described our whole week.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm sure despite the fact that he was, you know, insulting and all, they probably ate it all up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just amazing.
You didn't just work, I mean, you guys worked some pretty big names. Kinect, Perro Aguayo. I mean, these are big names in AAA.
Oh, some of the best, man. Oh my gosh. And being in the ring with Perro Aguayo, he you know, he was like the grizzled ring veteran.
Sure.
And I was so happy to be in there. To trade blows with him. It was freaking awesome. And I remember I did kind of like a split personality deal in Mexico, which kind of along the lines of what I'm doing now, where I just took the dark side of Maestro and just really went dark with it, right? But yeah, it was just great, you know, being cybernetico and Octagon. And I remember Jake and I went to Octagon's house one time for dinner, right? And
Right.
then he showed me a shrine of mass, right? And at the very top of the shrine was the Mass El Santo, who in Mexico was like,
El Santo,
wow,
yeah.
It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And
wasn't he buried with his mask? I think he was even buried with his mask. That's what I heard.
Told too. Mm-hmm. And funny story is, we went to dinner one night, and I'm talking to this older gentleman, right? And he was pretty stout, but really nice guy, right?
Right.
And I get up, after dinner, I walked out, and Jake was like, you just talked to? I was like, no, who was that? He said, no mascara. Like, no, get out of here. The whole time I'm talking to that guy, I didn't even know it was Mil Mascara.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
amazing.
Crazy. So definitely, it sounds like you had, you talk about, the school, and you were mentioning some of the guys who didn't have to do much. Another one I bring up, I don't know if you got a chance to work with him, but who did so little physically when he got older, but could still get a gigantic reaction, was Abdul the Butcher.
Oh, man.
He didn't have to do much.
No, Avi, we're good friends to this day, you know what I mean? Because, we're both during a time in Puerto Rico, and then he pretty much saved my life.
He did an indie match when I was doing some indie work years ago, and he told not just me, but some of the younger guys in the locker room, watch this. The crowd was dull. They weren't even booing because that's the worst thing for them. That's not even boo. They had no reaction. And Abdullah comes out, and sure enough, we're watching from the back. And all he did was break out into this karate pose, and just everybody was they went nuts. And then he proceeded to have a non-contact 10-minute match, and I'm like, wow, like you just mentioned, the same reaction you had when you watched Jake. I was like, wow, teach me.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Of course,
Amazing.
he couldn't salvage me because I stunk. But that's why I left. But I'm like, so it's interesting. You did a lot of tours. What's the difference you'd say, and what did you prefer in terms of style between Smoky Mountain, USWA? And the reason I bring them up was because in the mid '90s they were still, two territories going strong. Did you prefer one style over the other? The Memphis style or the Smoky Mountain style, or it didn't really matter to you?
Both were like learning experiences for me, right? And
Yeah.
I was kind of like doing, my wrestling style in USWA was kind of different from any other because,
Right.
they had their Memphis style, the way of doing things. And which Dundee, Superstar Bill Dundee, he really appreciated that style because we have a mutual friend in William Regal, right?
Sure.
And, we both do a lot of mat wrestling and all that. And so I kind of incorporated that with the style I was doing. And, it brought something different to the USWA table as far as, wrestling styles go. So,
right.
And it made me kind of exemplify more as the arrogant villain.
But to fans listening, this is how great Rob was at picking up little tidbits and applying them. When you were wrestling as the Maestro in WCW, those stalling heel tactics came into place a lot of times. I remember.
Yeah.
You just added that to your game. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was just, some things kind of stick with you, right? And
sure.
With the Maestro, it was just, basically Maestro was just another version of Gorgeous George III, just with little tidbits here and there, like with the Fan of the Opera entrances
right.
and all that. So, and then later on show that more aggressive side, which was really cool, and which that really came into play.
There's someone that you worked with in USWA who later on also went over to WCW. And I always thought he might have, I don't know if he had his finger on the pulse of his character. I thought he did. I thought he could have maybe, excelled even more. To your own opinion, the Gambler, he seemed like a guy who could have probably held his own and maybe on the national scene, maybe even carved out a niche for himself. Do you remember working with the Gambler? He had a really interesting gimmick as well, and he played it really well.
Oh, yeah. He was a great guy, and I really thought he had all the potential and ability to be a big-time player.
Sure.
And, he was a lot of fun on the road. We used to crack jokes all the time. But he was great in the ring.
What led you to WCW prior to the Maestro gimmick, obviously, that most fans associate yourself with, but what led you to actually, did WCW contact you?
Yeah, actually, my first time around, my first tryout, I was wrestling in Puerto Rico at the time, and Macho Man, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan called me from Puerto Rico.
Right.
And they'd been talking to Jerry Jarrett. Jerry Jarrett was a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, Jarrett really was instrumental helping me with Memphis.
Cool.
And so I got my first tryout then. Got to meet Eric Bischoff and Big Show, aka the Giant back then.
Yeah.
Which was he was pretty
I remember
cool.
that. Yeah, with the long hair and the singlet.
And they were going to work out a deal with at the time Lanny was going to try. They were trying to be cool with myself if Lanny would be Gorgeous George and I would bring him in under a different name. And
sure.
But neither worked out at the time, which I'm kind of glad it did. Matter of fact, they were going to original name for me. I think they were going to bring me in. It was called Reverend Headlock, which was.
Oh wow.
And they were going to have me on Thunder in Paradise and everything, but it just didn't.
Oh really?
Come to fruitation, right? So.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Maestro better.
Right. A couple years later or so, I just got to do tour in Mexico with Jake, and I was wrestling out in Texas at the time. A lot of the old school world class guys, Black Bart, Wild Bill Irwin, Skander Akbar, and I got the call for another tryout, right? And this time was with Chavo Guerrero Jr., which I couldn't be more happy about because, I'm friends with the Guerrero family, and those guys are good as gold. And I mean, we used to pray together for matches and that type of thing. And
that's awesome.
And we had a great match. Oh my gosh! And I remember sitting back afterwards, and everybody's just like praising the match, and DDP, who's still one of my good friends to this day. I mean, he put the match over and said it was like light years. I mean, like the work I've had some light years. From what
now, did it feel like, and of course, the big tryout for a big nationally, not even nationally, at that point WCW was actually doing global stuff too. Did you feel a sense of accomplishment just realizing that at some point you had made it? I mean, I don't know if it's that, is that cliche to say that? Sounds cliche, but at the same time, there are two major promotions left at that point, WCW and back then the WWF, which became WE. Did you feel a sense of accomplishment to the point where you said to yourself, okay, listen, like all these years of hard work have paid off? Or did you still feel like you were on the bubble and you had to keep sort of proving yourself day to day and you didn't know how long it would last? Which kind of feeling represents more how you felt when you first were brought on?
Well, to answer that question, fast forward to this story, right? The agents walked in, right? And each agent kind of gave their own different interpretation. Yeah, we're going to do this, going to do that, and yada, yada. And then Eric Bischoff walks in, right? And says, great match, guys. And looks to me and says, we could use a good talent like you. Welcome aboard. And no sooner he says that, all the agents would come and oh, great match. That was awesome. And I remember something my grandpa taught me a long time ago, is always know who the boss is. Because, I mean, anything were to happen, always go to the head honcho. And I knew right then if I had any issue whatsoever, Eric was the guy to go to, right? So as soon as I walk out that door, there's I remember Arn Anderson and all the guys waiting to shake my hand and welcome me to the company. And it felt like you were at the World Series, Super Bowl. I mean, you felt like you were on top of the world, man. It was just an amazing feeling. I'll never forget it. And WCW, the time, it had its ups and downs, but I was brought in contractually at the time when WCW was doing awesome, right? And because I was in and out with WCW nightly years prior, right?
Sure.
And I go back to doing indies and then go to WCW shows. And
you got a chance to work with Sting as well, I believe, during that time, right?
Yes, and that was big. I've wrestled Sting when he was blonde. I've wrestled Sting when he was girl.
Sure.
Yeah. So and Sting's an awesome guy. Matter of fact, we used to call him Ghost because he would float around the locker room like a ghost and save everybody. But he was such a class act guy all the way. One of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. But yeah, it was just that feeling. It was just so great to be part of. Like one night I can be in there with Rey Mysterio, another night I can be in there with someone like Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan. Or it was just.
That's the thing I recall about WCW. There was such a mixed bag in that locker room, right? I mean, in terms of just eras. Yeah. At
that time, arguably they had the greatest talent in the world at the time. It was just an amazing deal.
Did you find sort of, I guess, the backstage policy where Bischoff obviously gave you the seal of approval? And it's funny that you mentioned that as soon as he did that, all the road agents, I always picture one of those movies where you see like these corporate guys walking in, and they're kind of like berating a guy who's an office, employee. He's got his own cubicle, and they're kind of shitting on him. And then all of a sudden, the boss comes in, and like everybody's eyes just perks up, and the boss gives him a thumbs up. You've seen those kinds of. So it seems like you already had Bischoff's approval, which is neat. The transition, though, from Bischoff to Russo coming in, what was the temperament like, at least for you? Because nationally speaking, yes, you were actually working for them. Bischoff was still the head honcho there. But when he got let go in September of '99, if I'm not mistaken, you debuted nationally to an audience during the Russo regime. Did you find the morale to be a bit of was it a boost, or did you find people just kind of like not knowing where the company was headed when Russo took over?
Well, a little bit of both, actually. But with Russo and Ferrara, they had a vision, right? But I don't think it was. Looking back, I don't think it was necessarily going to work for WC,
right.
because WCW was a different breed of animal than WWE. I mean,
sure.
you can't say, for example, you have two companies, right? And just because it works for one company doesn't necessarily the same idea is going to work for another company. Because WCW was brought up with like the wrestling part of it,
sure.
like the old school competition, right? More competition.
Good point. That's actually a good point.
WWE was more entertainment and and so forth. It works for them, right?
Sure.
But WCW wasn't like that, and I think that was the problem when Bret Hart came to WCW, was the fact that it was a total breed animal. And I know Bret even said, I think, some interviews that Vince told him it was going to be the same, right? And which they really could. I really thought they could have done a lot more with Bret than they did, honestly. But that's just my opinion. But
sure.
WCW rather. But yeah, Russo. I mean, he tried with his creativity and ideas, and Ferrara, but it just WCW is a total breed of animal, different.
Well, I mean, just to piggyback on what you said, I don't want to sound like like a history nerd, but there was something called the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, and part of the Tet Offensive was to actually disarm the enemy on the ground. And, of course, the combat troops on ground were at a disadvantage. The Americans were, because they definitely were not only outnumbered on the ground, but they also had no idea exactly where the enemy was. They couldn't differentiate between the Viet Cong, and they couldn't differentiate between the southern Vietnamese they had to help. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. They had to disarm the enemy. They had to disarm the Viet Cong. And by doing that, they would essentially win a lot of the battles during the Tet Offensive. I think that WCW at the time was trying to disarm the WWF at the time with a lot of the talents that they had employed. And by doing so, it sort of like cracked the chink of the armor so much more. And it seemed like the roster at one point was just inflated with talent. Do you find that to be a detriment could it be such a thing as having too much talent in the locker room, Rob?
Well, yeah, and the fact that knowing what to do with all these guys. There were guys that were being hired but were sitting at home collecting a paycheck. With nothing to do, right?
Right.
And
which is
there
weird.
was like a report by some financial advisors that were telling me at the time that there's so many thousands upon thousands of dollars of merchandise in the landfill somewhere out west that was never sold.
Sure.
Just to give you an idea how. And I remember Flair reading the books some of his house shows that when the promoters gave him, and I remember him shaking his head, going, "My God, what are they doing?" I was like, "Oh man, here we go." I knew Flair saying that something because Flair knew more about what's happening than the office did, and it was like a revolving door at the time. He didn't know. We had to feel like new boss every month or so, and each boss wanted to do something different than the other boss before. I mean, it was just kind of hard to, this was happening.
In the kitchen, huh?
Yeah, this was happening like towards the end, though. I mean, the beginning was great, but that was just like, it was, I don't know. I mean, we didn't even know what we were doing until like minutes before we went out there. I mean, the board would go up and down for the lineup like 5 or 6 different times. And I remember we're all sitting in the hallway going like, okay, right, what's up?
But it works.
When did you actually receive notification? Did Russo or did Bischoff actually present the Maestro gimmick to you?
It was Bischoff. Matter of fact, and Dusty was a big help too, because Dusty went to bat for me too, which I'm forever be to Dusty, man. Through the years, I mean, Dusty's always been a big help, and And I'll be always grateful for the Bischoff for giving me the opportunity, with WCW, opening the door. And him and Hogan and Macho Man really reached out and helped me out. And Hogan, Hogan's always been great to me. Ric Flair has always been great to me. And, oh man, Rick's great, man. I love Rick. But, it was a great time. Despite the craziness near the end, it's a time I'll always cherish because I met some great people. Got to check off my bucket list of being in the ring with some great people. And,
what's funny? You read my mind. I swear my next question was, did you check off, your bucket list in terms of working with some of the people you grew up watching? And you certainly did. But I would go far as to say not only did you hold your own, but you carved out a niche for yourself where, again, I bring it back to just the level of concentration and how in tune with your gimmick you were. And again, gimmick, I don't know, character is sort of a word I'd like to use more. A lot of guys aren't that in tune with their character, but like I said, you were so in tune with the Maestro gimmick that did the office find out that you were like a pianist? Because you definitely had talent. You could play a piano, and that was a big crucial part in your character as well in terms of its development.
Yeah, well, they got word of my theatrical background and some of the stuff that I did before, and that was very instrumental for that. Matter of fact, when I started the entrances with the piano and the rafters and everything, which I had really kicking that bass because the crowd noise would drown out the sound being up that high, right?
Sure.
And they spent a lot of money to make that. It was they had the candelabra and the baby grand, and matter of fact, Sting and I were the only two coming out of the rafters at the time. The passing of Owen, which
right.
I met Owen. My trainer, one of my trainers, Nelson Royal, was friends with Stu Hart.
Sure.
And that's when I kind of broke the ice to Hearts a long time ago. And I asked Bret Hart actually for permission to go ahead with that entrance because if he didn't give me the green light to do it, I would go back to the office.
It's really classy of you, man. That you actually approached him on a human level and said, "Hey, do you mind?" That's really classy of you to do that. But
Bret gave me the green light to go ahead with it, so I went ahead and went with it. But just out of respect for the Hart family, if he would have said no, I would have.
Was there somebody you would have? Just a fan in you. Obviously, at that a particular point in time, you're getting paid and you're doing something you love, and you like being there. But if you had to go back, was there some of the guys that you didn't work with that you would have liked to have worked with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I wish I did more stuff with Piper. Piper was great to be in a row with, and I just wished there's quite a few guys. Barry Windham, another one. Kurt Hennig, he was a good friend of mine there at the time. I love being around Kurt. Kurt was a happy, lucky guy, man.
Jarrell, you have any Kurt Hennig questions?
Well, he was one of the people that you didn't get to wrestle, or you wrestled not as much as you wanted to?
Well, definitely. Both actually, because Kurt's awesome. Kurt, I was, not only was I friends with him, but I was a big fan of his work for many years. So I thought the match I thought he had with him and Bret Hart was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Of course.
That's what up there with him and Michaels and.
But did you at least at the very least, did you get to train with him a lot? Maybe you never had. Did you ever have but you didn't have a match with him on television.
Well, I was wishing I did more TV matches with Kurt. Kurt's just amazing. He's another guy just like Steamboat, so fluid in the ring.
Yeah.
Just a couple other names I'll throw out at you. It could be word association. You'd have to give me just one word, but. So your thoughts on some of these guys that you actually did get a chance to work with. Norman Smiley, Buff Bagwell, Ernest Miller.
Norman Smiley, great guy in and out of the ring. A great ring technician, actually.
Right.
Right before I got to be in the ring and work and wrestle with him, I saw a match with him and Dean Malenko one time. It was just amazing match. He was wrestling under the persona of Magic. Oh, he was incredible. Incredible. Yeah. So I was really excited to get in the ring with Norman, and man, every time we got in the ring together, it was really great. And the classic guy to this day, he helps out with the Performance Center. Now I understand the WWE town, and he still looks fantastic shape. Amazing. Yeah, incredible. He doesn't age. The guy doesn't age. Now, who are the other team names you mentioned? I'm sorry. Buff Bagwell, Ernest Miller. Oh, Buff. Good guy. Matter of fact, we started having matches together frequently right after he got hurt. You remember he got injured that time, that accident with I think Steiner. Something happened. Yeah, and his first few matches back was with me, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It was great being in the ring with him, and we're still pretty good friends, man. In fact, he called me on my birthday a couple of years ago on the podcast one time, and I thought it was really cool.
That is cool.
I'm doing a show with him actually. I'm doing a show with him actually. April. The weekend of WrestleMania. I got a show that Wednesday in Wayne, New Jersey, and he's going for UPWA Pro Wrestling, and he's going to be on that same show in Wayne at the Powell Center.
Do you have the date of that? You want to plug it?
Yes, that April. I think it's April 2nd or 3rd. That April, whatever date that April is.
Right.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh yeah, it's actually the 3rd. You're right. It is Wednesday. You sure when he called you for your birthday, he wasn't trying to call Eddie Van Halen or Ellen DeGeneres? Same birthday as yours. I don't know. Maybe.
Not.
You guys misconnections there.
No.
ECW Thunder and Maestro, were they two different environments backstage? Was Thunder more lackadaisical? But not just lackadaisical. Did it almost seem that since some of the guys who were contractually obligated to only wrestle certain dates, was there, not to name names, we don't throw people under the bus here, but was there kind of pissing and moaning about, I got to do Thunder as well and be on the road, or did that not even enter the equation?
Well, first off, to finish answering the other question about Ernest Miller. Great guy. We still stay in touch, and very entertaining guy. Another guy I love being in the ring with. In fact, back then he would do all his martial arts, and I do all the wrestling. And it was just a great combination, kind of like similar to the Rob Van Dam chemistry that I had. And he was very entertaining, and the fact that we brought in James Brown, which was like something not even Vince McMahon had did at that time, and to meet James Brown and for him to tell stories about my granduncle, right, and how like my granduncle inspired him and Muhammad Ali.
He told a story. I had Ernest on last Monday. I interviewed him, and again, you're right. Ernest Miller was a great guy. It was a great interview, and he had mentioned to me in the interview last week on the podcast, and fans, go ahead and check it out. The Ernest Miller podcast is on our channel. He spoke about the James Brown situation. I asked him how that came about. He actually mentioned he pitched the idea, and when it came about that James Brown actually was a fan of some of the stuff he was doing, Sting pulled him right near the dressing room. He actually told him, he goes, "Look, Ernest, the thing you did with James Brown today actually stole the show. Like, the boys were actually popping for that. Like, we loved it."
I remember coming back, right? Coming back after that bit, you know what I mean? And I remember Vampiro it gives me a hug, man. And Vampiro's like, that was like some of the greatest facial expressions I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God.
I remember when I looked, and I was shocked to see James Brown that fainted like Fred Sanford. Because I'm a big Sanford and Son fan. I mean,
Sanford and Son doesn't get much, in general, how about in general, since wrestling with anything but, Red Fox doesn't get as much credit.
Red Fox is awesome, man. Love Red Fox.
He was amazing. He was. I mean, a lot of the younger guys have no clue about who Red Fox was. He was amazing. I actually was pissed off that in the movie Harlem Nights he didn't get much to do because he was just being on that set. Can you imagine being on set with Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, and Arsenio Hall, and Richard Pryor? Oh my God,
that's like one of my favorite films ever. Oh my God, I still laugh when I watch that film to this day.
So getting to the whole Thunder thing, did you feel like some of the guys were kind of like, why are we on Thunder? Or, I mean, because they weren't contractually, fans need to know this. Some of the guys, a lot of the higher up guys weren't contractually obligated to do more than certain dates. And Thunder became a secondary show. I don't know, a lot of fans think it was watered down. I didn't think it was watered down because it gave a chance for a lot of the guys who you wouldn't see on Nitro, Ernest Miller, Buff Bagwell, yourself. You guys were able to showcase yourself on Thunder a lot.
Absolutely, and there were a lot of us, my guys like myself, for example, they were exclusive. We couldn't go nowhere else but WCW, right?
Sure.
We're just happy to work and get in the ring and wrestle. It's like,
on television.
All we need to do is stay in the gym. I mean, we didn't know what to do with ourselves, so the big getting booked in matches, like, heck yeah. So, but I don't think there was a really arguing about that. I remember I remember getting together with Jericho and Kidman and Canyon, a lot of the guys. We'd joke around about the older guys, right? But Jericho was great, man. I love Jericho. Matter of fact, we had a bet that who can act the goofiest on TV, right? He did those cheap trick stuff, right? And did the Ralphus. It was great.
Yeah,
and
yeah, of course.
I did the whacked out hair with the Mozart hair, if you recall.
Yeah,
hair was all crazy looking.
Oh, so that was actually part of a continuing bet. I love it. I love that.
Oh yeah, because
actually when you said that, it popped in my mind. I remember like there were a couple of weeks where like you had that little Mozart-y hair, and I'm like, I wonder. Yeah, well, interesting.
The theory was like, I guess, like the more outrageous we would make our deals, the more the office would mess with us. You know what I mean?
Hey, shame what happened to Ralphus, the ring crew guy. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Ralphus was cool. So we're going to get into a portion before we actually do. I want to wind up your WCW career. You know what? Later on, we definitely want to have you back because you did a lot after WCW. But what led to your departure?
Well, I was in a 3-year contract, and my contract was coming to a close, and I was getting all like the financial thing I mentioned earlier about how the company was kind of not doing so well and everything.
Sure.
And I remember J.J. Dillon calling me about it, and I was like, JJ, hey, no worries, man. I knew the deal's okay, right?
Right. No chance he was calling to ask you, hey, you want to go Waffle House, get some breakfast? No?
Yeah. I guess I remember a few months later after the contract is up, I went to see some of my friends at a Nitro, right? Just visiting friends, right? And, it was just horrible. I remember Flair was like miserable, and it was like, They had combined, they were combining the Nitros and Thunders in one night.
Right. The taping,
And Lance Storm was working his tail. They had him doing like triple duty.
Sure.
On both, and he was like, And
you had the guy hold like belts simultaneously.
Yeah. It was just crazy. And I know Bischoff tried to buy it out before Vince did, but even at that,
fusion thing. Yeah.
And it was still that someone. I guess it was Laurinaitis was trying to do this cruiserweight kick where they want to make everybody a cruiserweight rather, and I remember them trying to get the big Mike Awesome guy to be a cruiserweight, and I remember like Lance Storm was like, "You're not a cruiserweight." Killed him. And he tried, bless his heart, he tried, but the guy's like 6'5", you know what I mean?
Mike Awesome was the guy. Oh my God, I always talk with Jarrell about this. Again, a lot of people don't realize just how nimble he was for a guy his size. Incredible talent.
And I started bulking up, right, at the time, right?
Sure.
And then they said, once you get skinny again and be the Maestro, I'm like, dude, when I was lean, you were telling me all the time to buff up and stuff.
Yeah.
And now that I'm buff, you want me to, come on.
But I want to say something before we play our last game and we wrap this up. You definitely need to get credit for being one of the few guys in the late 20th century to be able to still allow fans who were still scouring the internet back then, let's be honest. I was doing some indie work back then, but I remember talking to, obviously I started out as a fan. And I remember talking to some of my peers and colleagues, and you were one of the few guys that people could actually see outside of the arena, in their own minds, picture you still being the Maestro. I mean, that's how convincing you were as this character. Rob, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you grew up watching a lot of wrestling, too. You probably saw certain guys, and you kind of just imagine that, okay, like, when the show was over, they were back to being who they were. But you definitely, like, again, when kayfabe was demolished, dead, tortured, killed, you were still one of those few guys that I could literally just say to myself, wow, this guy, like, who is he? Like, you had this mysterious aura about yourself, man. You did an amazing job. Amazing job with your character.
Thank you. I'm probably one of the only guys in the history of wrestling that played piano in the backstage segments for a solid 2 hours. I don't know if you remember that Nitro where you heard music the whole time? I'm playing piano for 2 hours. Hacksaw would come see me, the Marmaloo, Flair.
Wow, yeah, I remember that. Sure.
2 hours.
Sure. Your quiet professor must have.
I think your piano at the end had to do a cell job, didn't it? Had to do a cell job or something.
All they told me to do that night was play piano for 2 hours. So
incredible.
I was playing piano, and some of the backstage people were, giving me food and water.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you needed Alicia Webb, who played Symphony, to be part of the act, or did you feel better just doing it alone solo?
Oh man, she was such a pleasure to work with. My original two, I kind of wanted pitched at the time was Bobby Heenan and Sherry Martell.
Right.
And
right.
which it almost happened to Bobby, but Bobby was like they needed him in commentary with Shivani,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And Sherry almost got the gig, but the office went ahead and with Alicia, and Alicia was just was such a to this day such a sweetheart, and so it was really cool to work with her.
Right.
She was great.
Well, we're definitely going to bring you back to talk about some other stuff after your WCW career, including your MMA background, which I want to get into later on as well. Just to play a little game of either or, we play this with a lot of the guests we bring on. Some of these either ors are outdated to our younger listeners. Tough. Google them. The world didn't exist at the dawn of the 21st century. It might end in the 21st century. Enough morbid talk. Either or, Rob. Jay Leno or David Letterman?
Oh, that's a toughie.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I don't know. Leno, he got to work with Pat Morita.
Yeah,
in
that's
that
true.
one movie. Yeah, and they were kind of funny, so I'll go with Leno.
Bugs Bunny or Roger Rabbit?
Oh, Bugs Bunny, hands down, man.
Kojak or Columbo?
Oh my God, I love those two. That's a toughie.
Everyone says that, right, Jerome?
Yeah.
Kojak, because Kojak has the lollipop, man. I gotta go with the lollipop.
Oh, that's exactly what Mike Drosy said. The lollipop is the clincher. Clincher. Gatorade or Powerade?
Oh, Gatorade. I'm old school, man. Gatorade, man.
Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Oh, yeah, both those guys are good. Well, being North Carolina guys, I'd go with Jordan, man.
Well, let me check if that's the right answer, actually. That is the right answer, correct. Big Jordan guy myself. Can't say that for Jarrell, but I'm a big Jordan guy.
No.
In the looks department, again, I don't want to get you in trouble here. We're talking mid-90s looks department. Carmen Electra or Jenny McCarthy?
Carmen Electra or Jane McCarthy? Oh, that's a good one. Well, Carmen Electra's a better dancer, so I gotta,
That's I agree. I think the right answer is both, though, but I agree. That's a good answer. Carmen Electra. Godzilla or King Kong?
Godzilla. That's my boy, man.
Okay, so I think King Kong this time. I think Godzilla's 8-1 against King Kong at this point. I think Ernest Miller is the only one that went with King Kong.
I'm a Godzilla fan from way back in the day. Oh my God, love some Godzilla. I'm excited about the new movie, King of the Monsters.
King of Monsters coming out. We talked about this with Mike Drosky the other. So Godzilla did he does a really good face turn at the end of all of his movies. He starts out as a heel. And he was babyface. Yeah, does that really well.
Oh, remember the double team in Megalon? Him and Jet Jaguar.
Yes, I remember that one. Yep.
That's a big drop kick. Oh, it was awesome.
Yep, it was. Two newest Olympic sports added to the Summer Olympics: bowling or darts.
I like them both, but I would love to see a bowling team. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Mozart or Beethoven?
Oh, Mozart, man.
Cujo the dog for the movie or Beethoven the dog for the movie?
Oh, Cujo. I'm a big fan of horror movies. So yeah.
Can you imagine? I was going to ask you. Can you imagine what it's like to have the concept? Stephen King's book Cujo is great, but the concept of a dog chasing, and again, I mean, the woman who played a wife, Dee Wallace, who was also in E.T. and The Howling, great actress, she played the role of the mother, and it's almost like the dog is attacking her for her own sins. There's a lot going on there that people don't realize, but
real psychological, yeah.
Real psychological. When I went down to L.A., I pitched a script to Dimension Studios years ago. I had met William Friedkin, who did The Exorcist, and we talked about movies just like we're talking about now. And he had told me, he said that it's interesting, Dee Wallace, during the shoot, that dog was really trying to maul her. It was crazy. The dog was nuts. He was rabid. But human rights, I mean, not human rights, I'm sorry, animal rights, of course. Yeah. Thankfully, they didn't put him down. I would get pissed. I mean, he's a dog. But they were riling him up. Like, a lot of the guys were riling him up on purpose because they wanted to see him, like, go nuts. But the poor Dee Wallace, like, she was actually mauled, like, 6 times. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Can't get paid enough. But,
no doubt.
Guns N' Roses or Metallica?
Oh, God. That's tough. I love both those guys, but I've seen them both in concert, too. Oh, my God. Well, even though they got me drunk one time in a card game, I was trying to win James Hetfield's boots at the time. I got to go Metallica.
Okay, we got to hear about this next time. So wait, you're playing cards with James Hetfield. That's already got my interest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I won, and they said if I won the card game, I'd have his boots, right? You got these cool-looking cowboy boots, right? And I was all in, right? And it was just like those cartoons where I'd face plant at the table because they were drinking when they were playing cards, and I just couldn't.
Oh, you didn't have the heart to beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely got to hear about that next time. So I mean, is Metallica to get the edge, or?
Yeah. Even though I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan too.
Okay. This is tough stuff here, guys. This is the stuff that should be on the SATs. I know the following may be a little, God bless him, not saying anything. I'm just listening to 8.5 hours of Gene Anderson doing stand-up comedy or watching 48 hours of David Flair matches in succession.
Gene Anderson doing stand-up comedy?
Hey, if not, you got to watch 48 hours of David Flair matches.
I would go with Gene Anderson.
Yeah, I would too.
I love you, Dave.
Gotta keep it real there. Gotta keep it real.
Yeah, I got one for you.
He's really a nice guy, David is.
And listen, that has nothing to do. Let's be honest here. How about this? Let me change the question. I'd rather watch 48 hours of David Flair matches than watch 48 hours of my matches when I wrestle. How about that? That's a fact, by the way. That's how horrible I was. Classic guitar or electric guitar?
Oh man, I like there's like great music in both, really.
Really, there is. You're right.
And oh man, that's a toss up for me because I like them
okay.
Both.
First toss up. I respect that. Yeah, I respect that. Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn?
Ooh, oh my gosh. You know, that's another one I can't really pick because they have like different styles.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But
you know
I mean,
how about not even better? But like, is there
style.
someone you preferred a little bit more than the other? If you have to watch in their peak, in their prime.
I've trained with both, and both are incredibly tough.
Yeah, I understand. That's a tough one.
Great. So yeah, but I got to give them both props.
Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali?
Oh, I would love to see that fight actually.
Me too.
Well, here's what if it's a short fight, I'd give it to Tyson, but the longer the fight, I'd give it to Ali. Ali
totally agree with you. It's kind of like the movie Cujo that we talked about. If Cujo had like 5 minutes with Dee Wallace's character, he would have maimed her. But Dee Wallace had 25 minutes to think of a strategy, and she won in the end. So
right.
I'm not calling Muhammad Ali Dee Wallace. I'm just saying. Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee?
Didn't Bruce Lee train Chuck Norris?
He did. I guess you're right. That's kind of self-explanatory, right? I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you're right.
God,
Sorry, your relative. I know your relative's a huge Chuck Norris fan, that you mentioned earlier.
I would hate to ref that match. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
Rambo or Rocky?
I gotta get to Rocky, man.
Yeah.
The reason why, because he's like the ultimate underdog.
He was.
When Rocky's down, he makes the big comeback. I mean,
yeah.
Sure.
And Rambo, I mean, he's tough. I mean, he's tough. He's kind of like Wolverine, you know.
Wow, that's a good comparison, man. That's actually really good. Yeah, you're right. I could see that. I could actually see that.
But Rocky, he can come back from anything. You know what I mean?
Do you agree? I mean, yeah, he beat up the Soviet Union by himself. Ended the Cold War.
Basically.
Do you agree that like one of the most underrated face turns, and I like using that term for movies, one of the most underrated face turns occurred in Rocky III when Apollo out of nowhere turns face. He turns baby face.
that was really cool.
It really was. I don't know about that little beach scene where they embraced each other. Hey, listen, it's 80s, I guess, but not a fan of that. But Jerry Seinfeld or Chris Rock?
Oh God. Seinfeld is pretty funny. Matter of fact, Kramer. I first saw Kramer on. Remember the show Fridays?
Oh yeah, he did that thing with Kaufman. The whole skit with Kaufman in Fridays, where like, where Kaufman throws water at him or something. I remember that skit. Yeah.
I've been a fan of his ever since. And that hair.
You remember that skit?
I wish I could do my hair like his. He's got the craziest hair. Oh my God.
Kramer was a great character. Yeah.
Seinfeld or Chris Rock?
Oh, that's funny. Do you know where Michael Richards said he got the Kramer inspiration from in terms of like the body language and flipping and flopping, where he got that from? He got it from Art Carney from the Honeymooners, who played Norton.
The Honeymooners, yes. Oh man.
Yeah, he took that from him. Yeah.
New Year's tradition, man. Honeymooners.
It's funny you mentioned Chris Rock, because on YouTube I got a funny I do a funny impersonation of Chris Rock on YouTube. It's an old one from a movie. It was on set from a horror movie I did a while back called Cost Island. And the director thought it'd be funny to tape one of my Chris Rock impersonations, so he puts it on YouTube. Right? Just type in Stro Chris Rock, right? And you'll go to it. It's hilarious. But
actually, what movie is it again? I actually do want to check that out.
Cost Island. But like in the YouTube, the impersonation I did on YouTube on set, just go to STRO, then Chris Rock, and you'll see like that. This is like back when I had the blonde hair and everything. And
wow, I gotta check that out. I actually gotta check that out.
But yeah, Chris Rock or Seinfeld. Seinfeld's pretty funny. I don't know. I just watched Chris Rock and Pootie Tang again. I don't know. Nice. I'll give it Chris Rock, man.
So you got a little bias going on because it's still fresh in your memory. I got it.
Remember, his dad, he was the dad that came back as the cornstalk, and the mom came back as the cow. And that was
so it's safe to say that maybe today you go with Chris Rock. Maybe today.
Yeah,
today. Yeah.
Right.
That's fair. Fair enough. Yeah, McDonald's or Burger King?
Oh man. That's a good one. I'm a big fan of those McDonald's breakfast burritos you get in the morning with the hot sauce.
They're really good.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give them props for that. Definitely.
Bro, I want to throw you in really quick. McDonald's or Burger King's for you. I never asked you that. What do you
me?
Yeah.
Me? Oh, Burger King. Like nothing beats the Whopper.
Oh, the Whopper. Yeah, you got to go with the Whopper.
Yeah.
Now, if Burger King, if you go back to making those Whopper wraps like you did for a short time, if you recall those, then I'll take you all day, every day.
All day.
Those Whopper wraps are incredible, because I don't eat bread, right? So bring back those Whopper wraps, because they were awesome. Oh, I love those things.
No, they really were. I remember they actually tasted really differently than today's. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
See, like at least In-N-Out Burger or some places will have lettuce burgers where they wrap the burgers in lettuce.
I've seen.
Yes, that's right.
I've seen those.
Vince Russo or Jim Cornette?
How can anybody bet against Cornette? Cornette's like another encyclopedia. He studied this business like no. He can tell you like revenue from house shows from like 19.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's nuts. He can. He actually can. Yeah, that's insane. I guess Cornette wins by a landslide in that one.
Yeah.
Avalanche.
Well, how about on camera acting or theater?
Well, both. I like them both. The fact that theater connects with the live audience, whereas on film you can reach an even wider audience at that. And in film is like theater is like one time, whereas in film, I mean, it lasts forever. So.
Rap or rock?
Rap or rock?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends. Now, whenever they put rap and rock together, it's usually pretty cool.
Yeah, like Magic happens.
Aerosmith and Run DMC. Oh my God.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. And even Jimmy Page and P Diddy did something together that I thought was really good.
Yeah, from the Godzilla movie.
Right.
That wasn't really Godzilla, but I love those mixtapes they got now, where you can like. They mixed everything. Like they mixed one time a James Brown song and a Led Zeppelin song, and it was amazing. Oh
yeah,
my
it comes
God,
out good. Yeah, it's so creative these days. It's nuts. This is a tough one, I think, for me. Garfield or Heathcliff?
Well, you know my answer would be if I was Bill Murray.
All right, okay, Garfield. Yeah.
Remember the Zombieland reference when he said what's your last regrets, and he said Garfield.
That's so awesome. If people didn't know that Bill Murray voiced Garfield, they wouldn't even know that. You're right. Yeah, that was awesome. I remember that moment. Awesome moment. Schwarzenegger or Stallone?
Oh man, I love the pot shots he's making each other in the films, like the twins. And he's got a picture of Rambo, and it looked at his biceps, and he says, "That was great."
amazing part. Rob, I'm feel like I'm in sync with you. There is a part, where Schwarzenegger's character in Twins just arrives to the U.S. and he walks around eating 30 pounds of food, and he's just trying food for the first time, junk food, and eating pizzas and Whoppers and whatever. And he's walking by the street, and he sees a cardboard cutout of Stallone as Rocky. No, as Rambo. And he looks at his biceps, at the picture's biceps. He looks at his own, and then he just kind of shrugs off Stallone, because they had this rivalry in the '80s, Stallone and Schwarzenegger had a huge rivalry.
Remember the prison movie they did recently? Where they were
with
prison?
Stallone. Yeah, I do. I forgot the name of it, but I saw it. It was actually pretty good.
They did the the Expendables?
No, Escape Plan. It was called Escape Plan.
Oh, Escape Plan.
Escape Plan. Yeah,
okay.
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good movie. Didn't see the sequel. Pens or pencils?
I'd go with pens because pencils always break on me after worse luck.
Yeah, they do kind of break. It's true. They actually do. Krusty the Clown or It the Clown?
I'll have to go with It.
Yeah, I go with it as well. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek or Star Wars? That's tough. Now, I'm still somewhat of a Star Wars fan. I don't like what they've done with the recent Star Wars movies at all.
A lot of people say that, yeah. A lot of people are saying that.
But
the last one especially.
The Star Trek,
sure, you're right.
Star Trek's okay too, but they're kind of venturing off. They're doing, just like Star Wars, they're kind of venturing off in other avenues that I don't know, not really crazy about. So
how about in the golden age of both of them? Which one would you take?
In the golden age,
I know one was more TV show. I know they made movies, but I know one is more TV show, one's more movie. But preference.
I respect both in their prime. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars and Star Trek. But I'm a huge Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got and Yoda.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So anyone
that hates Yoda isn't a friend of mine. Just for the record.
Right?
So how can you hate Yoda?
I feel like Yoda now, actually, because, I hop around and I do, when it's go time, I do all these cool things, then I go back to hopping around.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, though? Yoda inspired everybody, man. That's a great person to kind of look up to. I like that. Larry King or Barbara Walters?
Larry King.
Yeah, I go with that. I don't think anyone's picked Barbara. Roller coasters or Ferris wheels?
Oh, roller coasters, man.
Yes, roller coasters undefeated so far, too. I should merge the question. It should be like Larry King on a roller coaster or Barbara Walters on a Ferris, or the other way around. Barbara Walters on a roller coaster and Larry King on a Ferris wheel.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
That'd be good. Leg day or bicep day?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, leg day or bicep day?
Leg day or bicep day? Oh, gosh. I would have to go the leg day.
Yeah. This one I think I kind of know because you hinted at it earlier. Horror or comedy?
Oh, gosh, I like them both, too. Jeez. I'd definitely go the horror.
Yeah. Stephen King or Steven Spielberg?
Oh, both of these guys are great. But I would have to say the consistency wise, I would have to go with Stephen King.
Right. Yeah. Great books, too. I mean, well, I shouldn't say great books, too. Obviously, he's known for writing, but his film adaptations, a lot of them are really strong. Mentioning Rocky again, Rocky or Raging Bull?
Oh. Those are good. Definitely go with Rocky.
Can't beat Rocky. Chinese food or Mexican food?
I like it both too. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chinese food, man.
Gotcha.
Can't go by Chinese food.
Frosted Flakes or Cheerios? When I was younger, I ate Frosted Flakes, but I'll go. I'm a Cheerios guy now. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Stay loyal. Here we go. Beavis and Butthead or Family Guy?
Beavis and Butthead or Family Guy? I still enjoy some Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, okay. Not. Swimming pools or beaches?
Swimming pools or beaches? Oh, gosh. I like them both, but I don't know. Some beaches aren't really safe to swim in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Especially up here in the Northeast, Rob.
Right.
We got a couple more to go, but I think you're gonna go swimming pools because of that whole Dirty Beach comic. But yeah. Chips Ahoy or Oreo cookies?
Unless I was Roy Snyder, then I can like go after Jaws. Maybe that'd be cool.
Yeah. I like
that. Oreo cookies? Is it Oreo cookies or what was it?
What was it? Oreo cookies or Chips Ahoy? Yeah, Chips Ahoy or Oreos.
Oh, I like them both too. I don't know. When I was younger, I was all about some Oreos and double stuff, so I just go with Oreos.
Nice. Orange juice or grape juice?
Ooh. Big juice guy too, but I gotta go with some orange juice.
Gotcha. Pepsi or Cola? Some of it doesn't even like. Yeah, some of it doesn't matter. I know.
Yeah, I Coke.
Yeah, okay. Road trips or flying?
Road trips or flying? I guess it depends. I mean, you get on a good flight, it's always nice. But, you know, Delta, get on Delta, man, they're awesome.
Sure. So. This is one that I asked prior, I think in my last interview, Jarrell. And I'm going to ask Rob, because maybe he can break the streak. I've never seen anybody eat this. Plums or oranges? Plums or oranges?
Plums or oranges? I got to go with oranges.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody. Have you ever seen, okay, I'm going to ask this to everybody I interviewed for the rest of my life. Have you ever seen a person in all of your years of life, and you're a young guy, I'm not saying, but in all your years of life, have you ever seen a person just casually walking down the street eating a plum?
You remember that scene from Eastbound and Down with Will Ferrell? He had the white hair, and then the guy from the Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah.
And the guy from Eastbound and Down, they're like all three in each other's face talking, and Will Ferrell's talking, he's in the white hair, and he's like, "Yeah, I feel it down on my plum." And they kept busting up and laughing at that thing. Oh, it's hilarious. That was a great, man. Will Ferrell, everything this guy touches is just hilarious, man. Amazing. He does. People talk about the George W. Bush, but like, if they ever saw him do James Lipton from the Actors Studio when he imitated that guy, oh my God, that was perfect. Just perfect. That was. He kills it. He kills it, man. Couple more to go and we're done. We did that. What movie can you watch 1,000 times without getting bored? Oh man, without getting bored. There's so many. There's some good ones. Does it have to be what type of movie or? Yeah, whatever you prefer. Genre, doesn't matter what genre it is. Genre. Whatever genre, horror or comedy, doesn't matter. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Just feel like flipping through the channels, and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen it, but yeah, why not? I'll watch it again. I just love it so much. Like one of those. Those Rush Hour movies are hilarious, man. Rush Hour never get old. They never get old. Yeah, exactly. They actually asked Chris Tucker if he's going to do it again. He's not promising. He's hinting at it. There might be another one. If you could be an animal, I'm sorry. I was going to say that. I was going to say that in those Lethal Weapon movies, man. I mean, I'm always down with some Lethal Weapon movies. Yeah, of course. If you could be an animal, what animal would it be? Lion. And you answered that quickly and confidently. I like that. I like that a lot. The last game we're playing, and then we're going to sign off, is a couple of questions for this game. Most likely to. So someone, a colleague of yours in any past walk of life, profession, hobby, interest, anyone that you know, someone that's most likely to say, stop, I'm hungry during a road trip. I got to eat. on a road trip, you got to eat.
Yeah, someone who's the first person comes to your mind that would say, "Stop, I'm hungry, let's go eat," during the road trip.
Oh, doing a road trip. Oh, goodness. Oh, I'd say Barbarian.
Okay.
Wow.
I can see that. Barbarian, we would, speaking of Chinese, we would all the Chinese buffets. And, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, Barbarian is, man, he's still in great shape, too.
Yeah, I'm going to CAC this year in Vegas.
Oh, he's going to be there, too, right, I think?
Yeah, and they're being honored this year, him and Haku.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
That's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose is going to be there this year, too. He's presenting the Coach Award to Cody Hawk.
Oh, guys, look that up. Because, I mean, Haku, Barbarian could be honored, Dean Ambrose from what you're saying, and as well as Rob, former Maestro. Look that up. Looks like a cool card, cool show.
Mm-hmm.
Who's most likely to say, "Hey, do my biceps look small today"? I'm sure it's half the locker room, but.
Look, I used to be Lex Luger.
Okay.
You always look at something in the mirror, right?
Right.
Back when I was WCW, but like nowadays.
Oh yeah, anyone comes to your mind. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter. We'll take Luger. Most likely to read a book quietly in the locker room.
Quietly in the locker room. William Regal.
Gotcha.
He's a avid reader, yeah.
Most likely to run to catering and devour what's on the menu.
Oh gosh. All those Islander guys, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh dude, that's why I hang out with them because they knew all the cool eating spots, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome. It's advantageous. Most likely to pretend to listen to you while checking out a woman out.
Check a woman out, you said?
Yeah, someone's pretending to listen to you and talking to you, maybe, I guess, during the row, like in a restaurant or a bar, and they're just really checking out a woman. They're kind of pretending to listen.
Oh. You know who was the real ladies, man?
Who's that?
Back when I was Norman Smiley, man. I mean,
Norman Smiley. Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
man, he would get like, I would see him with the nicest looking ladies, man. One time, we're getting up in the hotel, we're getting up to get some breakfast, like some of the guys. They walked over, and there's Norman next to this beautiful, gorgeous lady, looked like a twin of Oman, the model.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like looking at Norman like, you go, boy, right? And he's all shy, holding his head, you know. He was hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's that English accent. I mean, it gets the girl. I'm not saying it's just that. I'm just saying, though, that English accent, man, it gets the girl. It just gets it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Most likely to crack jokes in the middle of the ring during a match.
Ah, jeez. Right. I know. Well, I was going to say Barb again. He said a few funny ones.
Right.
I know Great Muda.
Oh, Great Muda.
You had this funny laugh one time.
That's awesome. I would have picked that. That's cool. I would have guessed that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But yeah.
And it would come out of nowhere, and I'm sure it would kind of like crack you up, right? Like probably you didn't see it coming.
Them or I know Tommy Rich had a few funny moments with Tommy Rich back when I was teaming with him.
Right.
Memphis.
Most likely to bitch about everything.
Oh gosh, I think we're all guilty of that.
Mom, I'm just telling my wife something. I'm not talking about you, honey. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, wow.
I'm not talking about her.
Oh goodness. I think all of us. Heck, I'm even guilty of it sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure. You don't have to throw, probably certain times. I'm sure everybody. Yeah, I get that. Most likely to be someone you call a friend in the industry still to this day.
Jake Roberts. Jake the Snake, man. Awesome.
Most likely to eat a lot before a match.
No, not me. I promise. I learned that a long time ago. Oh my God.
You ever catch that? Someone in any locker room, in any walk of life, in any promotion, you ever catch someone just like stuffing their face before a match and just eating a lot? I don't know. Some people have that tendency where they could just. I've met different. I played sports my whole life too. Like it's funny. Like I knew a couple of guys who could do that and just play ball right afterwards. It's crazy.
Funny story. I know a while back. I remember Brent Anderson always would tell me to regulate your eating right at a certain time. And I kind of stuck with that motto for years. But, I remember a funny story of Benoit, Chris Benoit.
Right.
We were like going from a Nitro to a Thunder. and we didn't have time to get to the gym. We had to take the late flight out, and we
Sure.
were kind of upset because we didn't get a chance to train, you know,
Of course.
to work out. And so the next day, we go to catering, right, and all this like junk food in the catering, right?
Yeah.
And I remember him grabbing this thing of lasagna, putting on his plate. He says, screw it, I'm gonna be a fat boy today.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Sometimes it's like that. Yeah.
So instead of a cheat day, he kind of like took the equivalent of like a cheat month in one day in one sitting. That's funny.
Right.
Last one actually. Most likely to. I have it right here. It's actually my last one. I don't see it. Yeah, most likely colleague to eat, drink, and breathe pro wrestling 24/7.
Oh my gosh. Gosh, so many students in the game. I can't tell you, but I got to put over one of the guys I helped train.
Right.
He's now half the Revival, Scott Dawson, who's the tag team champion.
Oh yeah.
That kid he worked his butt off, and he studies this like study the business like no other. He's a huge Bret Hart fan.
No, and I like the as far as like the Revival, and you mentioned them. I know. So wait, let's talk about this just for a couple of minutes. It's interesting. I want fans to know. So this is something that you say, you know, you obviously you have a vast experience and a vast array of experience in a lot of different things. You trained him, and I love that because when you do see him, there's that intensity, there's that kind of like method acting. You know, he's a throwback. He's pretty much a throwback.
Oh yeah, what a great guy, and he's worked his butt off together. Him and Dash are such a great team, and it's great to see them bring some of the old school tag team chemistry back in the tag team.
Don't be humble, man. I'm sure you had a lot to do with it, so don't be humble, man. Honestly, yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I'm just blessed to have a hand in helping them out, and I'd like to see people do well. You know what I mean? I mean, Sasha Banks gave me a shout out a while back with the school and everything. So
that's sweet, man. That's awesome.
People I've helped influence, like I mentioned Scott, I mentioned Sasha, Gallows and Anderson, Bullet Club,
right?
Bobby Roode, some of the people I've helped out through the years. I'm just really happy for their success, and they're all going to wrestle. Some of them going as champions to WrestleMania this year. You know, I'm really, really happy for them.
That's incredible, man. And again, you take a bow. I mean, you've done a great job with all of them. Jarrell, are there any last closing statements or questions you want to ask Rob?
Actually, the only thing I can think of, because I remember earlier you said that your choir teacher wasn't very pleased when she found out you were going into professional wrestling. Did it make her feel better when she found out you were going under the name Maestro?
A little bit, yeah, because I was going to incorporate some of the asterisks from theater, you know what I mean? And yeah, she kind of dug it. And,
that's nice. It's a nice homage to.
Yeah. I forgot to mention earlier. My brothers from WCW.
Right.
I was on over with Booker T and Stevie Ray. They're being inducted. Inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, and they were inducted into CAC last year, and I couldn't be any happier for them, man. And those guys really looked out for me.
Oh my God, they're we haven't talked to Booker. We've interviewed Stevie Ray twice already, and what a gentleman, what a great guy.
Yeah,
totally agree with you.
I mean, I'm happy for them. They're being inducted. Tori Wilson.
You got Wayne Ferris. Wayne
Ferris, man. Dude. I teamed with him a couple of times. Honky Dog Man, and I'll never a dull moment with Honky. Oh my gosh.
He seems like a character. I mean that in a positive way. He just seems like a fun dude.
Yeah.
Fun guy. Yeah.
And I remember one time right before the match, he's looking at the ring, right? And the ring hasn't been put up yet, and he looks at the ring and says, "Man, that ring looks stiff. I don't know if I want to get in there." They haven't put it up yet, man.
You got to be a genius to like come up with a punchline or joke or delivery like that. The ring isn't even set up, and you're like, yeah, the ring looks stiff. So yeah, I got to say, is there anything? Again, please, Rob, the forum is yours. Is there any last closing comments you want to make?
I just want to, man. I just want to thank everybody for being a fan and for sticking with me from around the world for all these years, and no more what avenue, whether it's wrestling, acting, whatever. I hope you guys stick with me, and we are very carelessly live with each other. We're all intertwined together, And I'm just blessed to be here in this life with you guys and to keep entertaining you guys for many years to come. Thank you. Much love.
Well said. And Rob, you know, if you'd like to come back on, we'd love to have you back on. Seems like there's a lot to talk about here. So
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
In closing, I'd like to say that absolutely. In closing, I'd like to say that the fruits of knowledge bestowed upon us today by Rob Kellum are not forbidden. On the contrary, they're fruits of wisdom and nourishment that I'm fortunate enough to have digested. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Jarrell. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.